Hey everybody, Rhadamant here. Thanks for tuning in to Kerbal Space Program. So we had somewhat of a two-part mission, but this time, while we go back, we will have some extra science to spend. So let's go and spend that now. Trying to decide what to spend it on. I think what I'm going to do... Nope. That's not what I'm going to do. I want to work towards acquiring science faster, so I'm going to work towards advanced science tech. It's going to be locked behind a, let's call it a paywall, for lack of a better term, because I'm going to need to upgrade my R&D center once more, which is very expensive, in order to unlock that, but that's fine. Mission control. Is there... What is there? Our current milestone is still active, which is explore the Mun. So I think we're just going to have to go back for very little reason to do so. Now I believe I left off by already designing my return craft, which I overwrote as RHD 9, I think, or 10. Nope. All right. Interesting. Open RHD 10.5. That's what it was. So this is the return craft, and I'm going to waste no time. We're just going to launch. So the trick here is I'm basically going to have to land on the rover, or really, really close to the rover, so that we can get the craft back. Okay. This is a probably way more expensive ship than I should be making. And I say that because it's really only a teeny little pod that we're landing on the Mun. So my launch phase, all my liquid engine stuff, you know, these skippers and these mainsails are way higher tech and more complex than they truly need to be, but whatever. I'm not going to sweat a little money. We'll have plenty of time to have missions that build up big cash. So we're headed back to the Mun, and I should start my gravity turn soon. Yeah, let's start doing that. The beautiful thing about liquid engines, they're nice and stable. So gravity turns are nice and easy. Or not that they're stable, but they gimbal. So I guess I've been saying gimbaling, but I haven't actually shown it. It's when you can move the engines around like this. That is gimbaling in a nutshell. Different engines have a different percentage that they can gimbal. The larger percentage, the more they can angle. So this is like a... I'm going to make it up because I don't know off the top of my head, like a 3-degree angle gimbal. Some are less, some are more, but basically, as far as I'm concerned, if they gimbal, they're easier to steer and vector. They're easier to steer than if they don't. Alright, my Apo is still... Yep. I'm just making sure that my ascending node doesn't change too much. So I gotta fix that. Oh, and the phase is over. Of course, nothing is asparagus staged or any of that, so that's why this craft is, like I said, it's needlessly expensive and inefficient. And I acknowledge that. I just don't care. The reason I don't care is it's not going to kill me to have an expensive or an inefficient ship. It's fine. I like how my ship's like, oh, you can use your parachutes. Oh, I'm not in space yet, so I overshot that. was trying to use the going to space to stop the physics rotation. Alright, let's go ahead and burn, making sure that our scent node doesn't get off track too bad. Whoa. Very rocky. It's a very weird ship. Not very realistic. I actually got a request. Someone asked if I could make a realistic looking ship. Something that matches... I don't know what they mean, but I'm guessing they mean like a SpaceX rocket or the Saturn or... I don't know. I'm not sure. Or mimicking the Apollo missions. Now my plan is to do the milestone missions until I've unlocked a lot of milestones, and then I can get creative. I can start making space bases and space stations, and eventually maybe even install some mods that allow for more interesting construction projects. However, the good news is, in a few weeks' time, we have a DLC coming out. Actually, not even a few weeks, it's like 11 days from now, providing it doesn't get pushed back. There'll be a DLC for KSP, which looks pretty cool. So if you don't know about it, you should check it out. It looks to be including a lot of cool science acquisition stuff. Oh, my periapse sucks. So let's fix that with a little burn here. Okay, fixed. Now to the mun. Zoom, 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 all the way to the mun. So the transfer burn is going to be around here. Let's get a low periapse if we can. So this is... I want a low periapse, but I don't want to have to burn too much fuel. Oh, that's a periapse that has us slamming into it. Okay, that's a very low periapse. Now, warp to next maneuver. I've got about 1900 delta V in this phase. That's plenty to do this maneuver and have 1,000 left over. Alright, rocking the burn. So I was curious about the suicide burning, and someone actually did have a pretty good way of doing suicide burns. So one of the people on my Discord asked and got a response about suicide burns. Basically, create a maneuver node right basically where you're going to land, have the maneuver node... well, I'll demonstrate it here. Have the maneuver node... I think we overshot it. That's okay. I'll adjust once we warp. Have the maneuver node wait until your orbit flips, and then you know how long you have to burn. So, like, plan your suicide burns and maneuvers. That's not always going to be possible, because sometimes... sometimes you have sort of unplanned maneuvers. Alright, so if we want to circularize, I kind of overdid it here. But it doesn't cost a lot of delta V to fix it. Although we don't want to be orbiting weirdly. We want sort of an orbit around the equator. So I'm fixing that as well. Okay, so that's our next maneuver. Just going to warp to it first. And the burn doesn't need to be that accurate. I'm just going to start burning ahead of time. There we go. Very, very low periapse. The next burn will be at the periapse to circularize, make landing a little bit easier. So, Gonna warp to there. Here we are in Mun orbit again, with a almost identical ship that we landed with. Of course, this one does not have the rover attached. I don't need to spend money for a second rover. The rover will never be refunded because, of course, we're leaving it on the Mun. I could bring it home with this craft, but actually, maybe I will. I don't really see the need to have a rover on the Mun permanently. I'm not going to use it, to be honest, so we're heading into the Farside crater. I set the flag. All right, let's ignore flags. Why am I still... Oh, because it's set as my target. Set the rover as my target. Also, ideally, I'd like to do the landing at day, during daytime. So I might want to warp until the rover has a morning, which is going to be a while because I have a really low orbit, and it just became nighttime. I wish I was better at singing. I could sing you a song while we wait. I guess I suppose I could fix... I have so much delta V, and I'm going to have to lose a bunch of it. I could fix the ascending node issue here. Not that I need to. I super don't need to. It's just something to do. Burn time of 0.6. Whoa. Way overburned. Well, whatever. I guess we could look at the craft like this as it's rotating around. And we're waiting basically until the RHD-10 rover is facing the sun. It's about... It's early nighttime for that rover. And because I have such a low orbit, it's not letting me time warp faster. I'd need to be above 50k to time warp faster. You know what? Actually, we can prograde burn right now and raise it to 50k, just to not waste so much time. That way I'll be able to orbit a little bit better. There we go. 50, 74. Perfect. Alright. Seeking daytime. Is this just the permanent dark side? Come on. Alright, I'm going to do a dark side. Yeah, I think it is just the dark side of the moon. So let's do a dark side landing. I don't know what I've been waiting for. I misunderstood. So that burn will work for me. That gets me... let me adjust it a little bit. That gets me kind of over the rover. And then while we're directly over the rover, I will do a horizontal burn. Okay, that's good enough. Accelerate time. And there's the rover, as you can see. So now that we're over it, I'm going to kill my horizontal velocity. Killed. I'm going to do a little maneuver to adjust so that I land closer to it. And this is a skill that you'll need for base building. You're going to need to be able to land reliably, roughly at the same target multiple times if you ever really want to build a base on a planet. That was probably overkill. Alright, retrograde burn, because I only have a little bit of fuel left in this tank. So we'll separate that off. Alright, now for the suicide burn planning. I'm actually going to start burning now. It's dark and I can't perfectly see what I'm doing. Let's get rid of the maneuver. We obviously we killed all of our horizontal velocity just now. So the added challenge is I get to do this in the dark, and in real life I have a considerable amount of glare because it's like daytime. So it's hard to actually see what I'm doing. So if we zoom in, we want to be traveling closer to the rover. So I'm actually jetting towards it a little bit. And I'll speed up time a little bit. So I'm adding some horizontal velocity that takes me more towards the rover. And now we're over it, and I want to kill that horizontal velocity. God, it would be a lot easier if I did this during... Oh, I overshot. During the day, or during bright. Even if I had lights on my ship, they wouldn't really be helping me out right now. Because, it's hard to illuminate from a kilometer up. Alright, now we're coming down, and we're only a few hundred meters away from the rover. Soon my rockets will illuminate my landing pad. I should get in the habit of adding lights in the future, because I know this isn't much to look at. And there it is, only Usain Bolt minute away. $30, $20. I don't have particularly bright rockets. Alright, so we're 400 meters away. That's not bad. Switching to the rover and unhibernating the rover. We can... I think it's set up to drive still with the same controls. It is nighttime. So the worry is that I run low on batteries, but there's so much charge that this thing has. I'm going to start retracting. From experience, I can tell you that you need a very well-built rover to drive fast. So the rovers we put on Mars, for instance, are very extraordinarily slow. I can't even start to explain how slow they are. They move like feet per day, or meters per day. You know, because it's dangerous moving fast. Plus, on Mars, there's a long delay between communications, so if you move too fast, you could literally hit a rock and not know it for like 15 minutes. Imagine driving a car with that kind of delay. Alright, so here we are at the lifter. I'm going to slow down so I don't collide. Traction and everything, braking, it's all a little bit different depending on the planet surface that you're on. I lowered this, yes? Yes, I lowered that. Alright, so now we're doing the wiggles. Trying to get right overhead here. Hit the brakes. That almost looks perfect. That looks even worse. There we go. Turn on the lander legs. And smush. Come on, that's attached. Oh, it's really not. Well, I have another trick up my sleeve. Switch to the craft. Oh, no, it just attached. There we go. So, we docked 2 vessels on or around the Mun. And that milestone and mission is complete. Before we leave here, Not that I really have any science acquisition stuff to do, but I want to go back to the Space Center to see what my next milestone mission is. And using this method is more or less how you would create a base. I haven't really... Okay, explore Kerbin. Dock 2 vessels on or around Kerbin. That means that I'm going to be putting a orbital station up somewhere. So I think what I'm going to do is... I'm brainstorming. Maybe I'll put a orbital, at least 11 Kerbals? Jesus. Okay, we'll combine it. What I think I'll do is cancel out my current grant, because we want funds at this point. So we'll create a orbital station around Mun and Kerbin. We're going to make one that does both. Sounds crazy, I know, but bear with me. Okay, so we still have the... Let's go to the tracking. We have Nataus's pod that I'm just going to terminate because it's empty. And then we have RHD 10.5 that we can fly home. And I'm going to bring the rover with me. So the thing with building a space base, I don't know if these wheels can handle it, so I'm taking a huge risk here, is sort of the way it works is now this entire ship, these wheels suck. Well, basically, this entire ship is now on wheels, and if you had really good wheels that were low enough that you could move them around, you could drive this around and attach it to other things. And that's kind of how I build bases. Alright, so let's get home. I'm going to fix the staging because we have chutes. Yeah, the staging's a little wrong. Drogue chutes are lower. Okay, there we go. Let's try with the timing this takeoff correctly. When we see Kerbal rise, Kerbin rise, we'll go. Which side is it coming up on? Kerbin, where are you? It's gonna be over here. Alright, if I clip into... Oh. Okay. I'm not going to worry about that. We have enough fuel. Up I go. Retract the gear. And burn to the 90. Keep it nice and flat so we don't get some weird orbit. Alright, that's bigger than it needs to be, but oh well. I'm not even going to focus on the landing all that much, just so that I can get more missions done. So we have 1,000 Delta V. Oh, this puts us briefly back into Kerbin orbit because we're slowing down so much. It's not going to gravity sling us or anything. We'll be fine. Alright, I'm going to warp to here. 700 Delta V left. Bringing home a rover. So what's going to be important about this rover is to make sure that we don't slam down hard or all the delicate components will break. And the timing of this is perfect for an aero brake to Kerbin, our Kerbal Space Center. So we'll try that. Just watching my fuel to make sure I don't screw this up. Yeah, I don't know that we're going to get that close, but we'll get somewhat close. Alright, let's face prograde. Why does it say I still have fuel left? I don't. That's just a bug or something. Oh, it might say I have fuel left because I have motors. That could be it. Like somehow I'm going to drive around in space. And let's turn on the brakes so we don't have wheels spinning or anything. Okay, we're going to overshoot this by a little bit. By a lot of it. Also, actually, we want to go retrograde. Okay, that looks good. Start for the re-entry. It's gonna get hot. Unfortunately, my rover doesn't have a lot of heat protection, so I didn't really design this for re-entry, and as a result, it might burn up. Those go to the tires. Yeah, it's gonna burn up. Nothing about that rover was meant to sustain re-entry. I guess this is a good way to demonstrate that re-entry isn't necessarily... unless you have a lower difficulty that doesn't have heat, re-entry needs to be done carefully, or you burn up like this. But most of the dangerous re-entry is done. I still have some rover bits that get to be saved, like the solar panels and the somehow the comms arrays are good too. So we'll fire off all of the drogue chutes and regular chutes. We are pretty far from Kerbal Space Center, but I didn't have the Delta V to slow down, so I did my best. I have no idea what lander legs will do in the ocean. Like nothing. They don't really work, but I'll deploy them anyway. And our speed is actually a little too high. We still need more chutes. Well, I wasn't planning on having a rover here. Let's be fair. That was never part of the plan. But hopefully the lander legs absorb some of the shock. My missions have been so slapped together. I hope you guys appreciate it. Alright, let's see what survives. Cross your fingers. It actually all survived. I think the lander legs took the stress of re-entry, and we are okay. So let's recover, and we're going to get like 90-ish%. But that was bringing a rover back from Mars. Now, if I was going to do that properly, I would have had heat shields on the top of the, yeah, 88%. I would have had heat shields on the top to protect it from re-entry, and then we could have saved the rover. But that's just not how it was designed. Alright, so the next mission. Let's see. Science data around space around Kerbin. We'll get that done. And then... yeah, so the active ones is Explore Kerbin, which is docking 2 vessels around the orbit. And actually, I'm going to do that separately from the moon base, because it's really cheap to put things in orbit around Kerbin. So we might as well do that. I do realize I'm running out of time for this episode, but that's fine. So this will be RHD 11. And we only really need to dock 2 vessels. And what I'm going to do is... I'm going to have this be unmanned. I'm going to put probes up there because I'm not really planning on for them to come home. So this will be a permanent unmanned satellite-ish. It's going to be a space center satellite-ish. I say ish because what I can do is I can add people to it. I can add like human storage if I want to. So let's design, sort of role-playing wise, let's design a space center. This is a big service module, huh? No, I don't need something that big. So what it's going to need is to be dockable. The first one doesn't need that much RCS fuel. The second one will. So this here will be more science-based. So what we're going to do is let's go and set it up using parts that I don't normally buy or use. So we'll have 2 thermometers, 2 barometers. That's all it really needs. It doesn't need much more than that. This is a pretty simple little craft. A little bit of... Actually, you know what? I'm going to add a lot of communication to this, so it can be sort of a relay satellite. So shroud off. For communications, we will do... Yeah, we'll do massive relay, but for that, we're going to need a big payload. So if we go to payload... Let's build the fairings. Okay. So all that will be in the payload. Actually, let's delete the fairings because we're going to want to include our giant satellite that I will try to slap on the top here. There might be a better probe core for this. So let's go back to pods. Yep. This probe core is going to be nicer, play nicer. Alright, so build fairings. And what this is it protects this inside from, you know, launch. It's also better aerodynamics. So we have a Science Junior here, and we'll just slap that on. And then underneath that, we'll have a manned area. You know, it would be pretty cool to add telescopes. Ooh, that is super expensive. Or survey scanners. Yeah, I guess what I'll do is I'll have this mission be way more stuff than we need. Just because. So we will add a lot of stuff to it. So that's a big old telescope. I'll basically put up the equivalent of Hubble. So let's redesign this a little bit. With that in mind, now that I've sort of changed my mind on how this is going to look, we're going to start off with a service bay. And then in this service bay, we will put all our science-y goodness, our small stuff. So we will put a probe core and our token thermometers and barometers and put goo containers like that. They clip through. That's ugly. Let's open that again. Maybe no goo containers. Barometers, thermometers. It doesn't need to have everything. It really doesn't. This is all roleplay. I really don't need to be building this at all for the mission. We'll put some batteries in here. All right. And then up above this, if we want nice surveying sciencey stuff, these big relays are great, but they only attach to the top. So what else are we going to want to add to this? We are going to want a telescope and a survey scanner, which really should not be slapped onto the top of a telescope. So what I'll do is have it be on the bottom like this. No, I can't do that. I'll brainstorm on that in a minute. I'm not going to be able to finish this episode, or maybe I'll have it go long. I don't know. So structural. Let's go ahead and expand this base out like that. Actually, before, yeah, no, that's fine. And then we'll go to utility or control actually, and put an advanced wheel so that it's very controllable. And then we'll have our hitchhike. On the side of this, we'll have these giant surveyors. I don't think they're going to be able to fit into fairings. Maybe they will if I angle them up like this. If I angle them up like that, I'm going to need to rotate this like this, and then, for role-playing sake, rotate the antenna. That will deploy into it. No, that's not going to work. Okay, that works. It's a very weird-looking thing, though. Let's try to shroud this. Where is that? Aerodynamics. No, it's payload. That's going to have to be a lower. I can fairing it, but it's going to have to be a little bit lower, like this. Big old donut. Alright. It's hideous. I love it. There's just so much stuff I'm adding to that. Actually, right here, what I'll do is put in a Science Junior 2. Okay. Lovely, lovely, lovely. I don't need a surface scanner. I don't really need atmosphere analyzing at all. Or storage unit. Okay, now that I've now here what I could do is the mobile processing lab. That's actually probably way more expensive than I really want to put up there. But why skimp, right? Why skimp? Then I'm gonna need electrical. So once these deploy, I'm going to have them stay out. Let's see. Let's go with the radial flower pattern. Like this. There we go. And now I gotta put this thing, this hideous, hideous thing into space. At the bottom of this, I also need a decoupler. And then maybe some lights. I also want to add some more power to this. And this is not... none of this is as actually useful for the mission itself. I just want to point out. None of this is mission necessary. It's just... I want to put a nice space station up into space. So... yeah, I'm adding a lot of power so that when it's on the dark side of... when it's nighttime, it has power. So let's go and add some lights. So first off, I'm going to have some little illumination. I'll do 4. I'll do 3 lights, and what I'm going to do with these 3 lights is RGB it, because what gamer wouldn't have RGB lights on their space station? So we'll have a red light, and if I rotate this 3 times, then I'll know where to put it. Okay. Then we'll have a green light. And... oops, I'm doing this wrong. Green. Red. Blue. Okay, cool. Little RGB lights. And then at the bottom here, we will want actual lighting so that we can dock with this thing, because that's actually the mission. Everything else up until here is not mission necessary. I'm going to also put another inline reaction wheel so that I can angle this very, very easily. So then these are our docking lights. I'll have 4 of them, or we'll stick with the 3 theme. So this is so that I can illuminate the craft coming in. And actually, it might be cooler if my RGB lights are down here. It would shine more. So I'll do that. But I don't want to block the windows. It's the mobile processing lab. Who are they going to complain to? Me? Okay, make sure the lights stay the right color. Yep. Alright, this thing is funky wonky. Now back to structural. Bring this down to a docking port. And this is what's going into space. This hideous monstrosity of a ship. Alright, I'm going to raise it up a bit. Let's go ahead and... This phase, the first launch phase, is going to need... or this stage is going to be the one that... that has liquid engines. So I'm going to probably have... I'll asparagus up this phase, and then we'll have fuel-efficient vacuum, which is swivels. Okay, and that will circularize, and then we'll have a launch phase too. So all these engines are down here, and then all of the decouplers are on different stages so that we can asparagus them. And just because I am thinking I'm going to get a lot of flack for how odd this is designed, this is all for fun. This is just because I have the money. I want to put a big base in space. Then what I'm going to do is strut the bottoms here. Out to... voila. Okay. That's enough plenty of delta V to circularize. And this will also... You know, these survey scanners... I don't actually have a relay antenna, do I? Yet. I say yet because they can be added. I really only need one survey scanner. So what I'll do is I'm going to have it be asymmetrical. How heavy are these things? 1/3 of a ton. So I don't think it's going to off-center, off-weight anything if I have it. And this is 0.2, so it is weighted a little bit to one side, but not incredibly. Okay. Because if I toggle my center of mass, it's not going to be that bad. All right, and then of course, put a rather large decoupler here. Is this the biggest decoupler I have? Yep. Just so that this thing doesn't wobble like a crazy ship, I'm also going to attach 6 mirrored struts as well. Oh, that didn't work. 6 mirrored struts. Come on. You're killing me now. Up to the engines for stability. And it's not working. Come on, ship. Don't do me dirty. There we go. Just because that decoupler is a point of failure. And then this is the launch phase. And what I will do is have 1 mainsail. And then a whole lot of kickback. The mainsail will help me control it, and the kickbacks will provide the extra thrust that I need. Alright, and that's enough to orbit. And as you can see, that neatly fits. So let's 6-sided strut the kickbacks and 6-sided strut them at the bottom. Actually, I think I'm going to add in 1 more fuel tank. There it goes, so it's about the same height. And save. And just because I'm paranoid, I will strut this to this too. Oh, those struts are awful looking. Let me try to do that cleaner. Here to... Oh man, trying to get the proper line of sight. Alright, that's good enough. Alright, this is the RHD-11 ready to go. Hideous as the day as ever. But alas, I'm way up over my time here. So this is going to have to be a space station launch for next episode, this monstrosity. So thank you all for watching. If you have any tips, tricks, feedback for me, drop me a line. And I do hope that you tune in next time. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll catch you all later. Thank you all very much for watching. Thanks for all the wonderful support. And of course, you all told me to leave in shipbuilding. So here is my crazy, crazy shipbuilding. Adios, everybody.